publishing Exhibit 39 starting at approximately 33 minutes into the video.
On one road when we need to be on another road, you know what I'm saying? And just get this all cleared up. So it's important we have these discussions. So you drive to East Point, you pick her up, she's texting you, we're going to smoke some weed. You told me that night I saw a message on there, she said Happy New Year to you, right? Mm-hmm. That was the text, next you know. So walk me through it. 10 o'clock, you did what? You left the house and went where?
To Kazana. Oh, you said 10 o'clock. Okay, 10 o'clock, no, our girlfriend, she goes to work at supposed to work at 10:30, clock at 10:30. So right. We were at her job until about 10:30 when she went inside. After that,
where is it? Where does she work?
At Dakota.
At Dakota, like plastics industries or something?
Industrial. That's in Oak Park or Hazel Park.
Madison Heights?
No. It's like going to Ferndale.
Yep.
Where lives and everything. It's Dakota, and it's basically by the Amazon over there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then right across from that is Dakota.
Okay. So now you leave your house at what time?
About 9:59 exactly is when we left house.
9:59 exactly. Okay. So you leave and you're with who's with you?
My girlfriend, my kids.
Okay. And then you drive where?
To her job.
Okay. Now, does your girlfriend know that you're talking with Zion and Zion?
She knows. We talk and everything and hang out and everything.
Does she know that night?
No.
So she has no idea. So you take your girlfriend, fiance Katrina?
Yes.
So you take her to work?
Mm-hmm.
So you leave at 9:59 exactly?
Get to her job around 10:27, basically getting close to 10:30.
Okay.
Talked for a minute, she got out, and then I left.
Are you texting or in any communication with Zion while you're taking her to work to drop her off?
No, I don't really text her. So.
Okay. Yeah. So after she gets out of the car, then you start texting Zion, right?
Oh no, I was on the way home.
Yep.
And down there, Zion was talking about hanging out. She didn't see me on New Year's or anything.
Okay.
So I texted her. I was like, "Do you want to hang out there?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she just went to figure out pick her up.
Okay. So she's like, "Come by, pick me up." You're like, "Yeah, sure, I'll be right over there." So then you take a detour to go pick her up.
Yep.
Do you stop anywhere?
No.
Okay. So you pick her up, and that's the video that leads us into the video that we saw that someone sent us. Correct?
Yes.
Was anybody else? Was anybody else at the home, at her house?
I don't know.
So you just picked up the video that she gets in.
Let me call you back. This is Attorney Jones.
So you pull her out when she gets in, right? And then you guys take off.
Yeah.
What? Okay. So did she leave anything or forget anything? Like when you pull out of the driveway, you stop in the street or anything? Was there something that was going on?
No.
Nothing at that point?
No.
Okay. Because you stopped in front of the house as you were departing?
Yeah. She didn't want to walk over it. Like, she came out of her house.
Yeah.
I was parked in front of the trash can or whatever, where there was snow.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to walk through the snow, so I backed up a little bit and left.
Okay, so that's why you just sat in the street for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So you pick her up, and then you head straight to where?
Straight home.
So you guys didn't stop anywhere, nothing like that?
No.
You didn't buy any marijuana or anything on the way, nothing like that?
No.
You already had your own weed, she had her own weed?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So then that's when you get back, you put the kids to bed? Is that what you're saying?
Yep, took them upstairs, I put her in the bed.
Okay.
I've been watching DJ Maxx for 20 minutes.
Who?
DJ Maxx is a TV show with my kids like to watch.
Cartoon.
Okay.
Okay, so you watch cartoons with the kids?
Yeah.
Where's she at? Where's I
downstairs?
So she's downstairs, you're upstairs,
yeah.
in bed with the kids watching cartoons and stuff, right?
Yeah, they'll calm down, toys put away, put that in bed.
How old are the kids?
1 and 2.
So you start, are you texting Katrina still at this point?
I was starting the kids putting on the bed. They usually go to sleep at 10, but they're with me and with their mom at night, so they're still up a little late.
Okay. So you're not, you had to charge your phone?
No, my phone's in my pocket.
Okay, so you're not texting Katrina anymore?
No.
Okay, while she's there?
I texted her that I was home and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, the kids bed. After that, there was no conversation.
When you got home, you just text her, hey, I'm back home, this and that. Does she know at that point that Zion's over?
Oh, no, she didn't text me back or anything.
Okay, but you didn't text her and let her know that she's in either,
no.
Right? Okay. So you guys you come back downstairs, you're just smoking, you guys split up your weed?
We just put it all together.
Yeah.
Who rolled the weed?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you smoke it, and then you guys are just chilling, watching TV, talking, hanging out?
Yep.
Did she come on to you or anything like that? Did you come on to her at all?
No, not that at all.
Okay. At this point here, we're talking, let's see, time frame, you're back at the house at what time?
Between 11 or 11:15 or 11:30.
Okay. So now it's like 11:15 or whatever. Now we're at 11:30 because you're upstairs watching PJ Maxx. You guys mix up your weed, you roll up, you guys start smoking, you're just watching TV, just chilling?
Yeah. She's telling me about her mom, their relationship's a lot better than was the last time she talked to us. And about her boyfriend, about prom, the job and everything, and how she's working on getting an apartment and everything.
So, do you notice her on her phone with anybody, FaceTime or anything?
She was texting somebody.
Somebody?
She did get a FaceTime.
Okay.
I don't know if she answered or not, because I really paid attention. I was just watching TV, enjoying my house.
Alright. So now, you guys are just chilling, and that's all of a sudden she just blanks out right there?
Not when I got up to go give me something to drink,
Yeah.
I came back and she was saying she was tired and everything. She laid her head back, so I let you go to sleep for a bit, whatever.
Okay.
And then about 15 to 20 minutes after that, I was like, okay, are you good? You ready to go home? And she wasn't responding or any of that.
Was her plan to go back home that night?
She said she had work in the morning.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, you're still not texting Katrina, right?
No, because at that point I'm freaking out, like, oh shit, did she just die or something?
Well, I mean, you just said you went to get a drink and her head's back on the couch. If she's still alive at that point, she's probably just high or whatever, from, the weed. But, so you shake her, grab her by the arms, you said earlier, right? Shake her, there's no activity, no like that. You say she's got a faint pulse, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're looking at the time frame. What time is it at this point? Like, we're talking like an hour later?
Around that time where all that happens is when we were basically getting ready for her to go home, basically.
Okay.
So that would be within that hour and a half, towards the end of that.
Okay, so we're looking probably close to 1 o'clock, right?
I'd say probably like 12 or 1, yes.
Okay, I mean, 12 to 1, there's an hour, but... So you
More than
just got
one.
back to the house, watch PJ Maxx, so I'm assuming it's not 12.
Right, yeah, definitely, so we'd close to 1.
Okay, so at that point, she's just really stoned and ready to take a nap, it appears.
That's itself,
And
yes.
then you start shaking her. She doesn't wake up. You check her pulse, you said,
Mhm.
and you can see she's not breathing, nothing like that. So at that point, what are you doing?
Freaking out.
Okay, so you're freaking out, and this whole time you've been
Oh, so at
home.
that point in time, you thought she was definitely dead?
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, was she dead? Do you think she was dead at that point, or does she still just have pain breathing and
if it wasn't anything.
there was nothing at that point?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You know the difference between dead and alive, right?
I mean,
Was she
not
dead?
breathing. She wasn't breathing, so I assumed that was dead. Her heartbeat was like, couldn't read the heartbeat, couldn't feel the heartbeat or anything. So I would say she was dead, definitely.
Okay. Now, this whole time that Zion's there, you don't text Katrina.
No, she was texting.
Is Zion texting anybody or calling anybody?
She was definitely texting somebody. I know she had on FaceTime somebody.
Okay, but that was earlier.
Yeah. But not around, okay, so you're asking when that was happening.
Yeah, so at this point, you're with another girl, and your girl's at work.
Mm-hmm.
You stop texting her when you get back to the house with Zion. And you don't text, when do you text Katrina again? When do you talk to her again?
Around like 2. Because she was feeling sick and she told me that she didn't need to pick her up.
Okay. So that whole time, she doesn't talk to anybody. Now can you see Zion on the phone? Is she talking to texting anybody at all, or even on her phone?
No.
So that whole time, she's not texting anybody either? Except for, you said, when she first got there, though.
Yeah, when she first got there, when she found the couch.
Okay, so like at 12 o'clock, though, she's not FaceTiming anybody? Or talking to anybody?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. So up until that time, you think now she's dead. You have not talked to your girlfriend, and Zion hasn't talked to anybody. You take her, you freak out, and you take her, you throw her body in the trunk, right?
Yes.
How do you do that? Like, what do you do? Like, is your car already set, or I mean?
No, I was in the driveway. I pulled in, and so I was sitting there. I said, okay, well, so I went outside and I backed my car up because the trunk would have to come this way, like into the driveway.
Okay.
And then I put her into the trunk, and then that's why I took her to Highland Park.
So you back up in your driveway, and you just hit the trunk?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you bring her out the front door?
The back door.
So you brought her around the backyard and you're in the trunk?
Yes.
Okay.
What side was her head on?
To my left.
And then so from basically until that FaceTime, just after you got the house at like 11:30 or something, she never got on her phone again. You never seen her phone again?
No.
Okay. So she must have just tucked it away somewhere, right? So when you came downstairs, is that when she got off the phone?
No. When she first like on the phone, and I didn't know she scared a FaceTime call, was way earlier in her coming over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did she want anybody to know that she was there?
I was scared. Yeah.
She didn't care if people knew that she was over there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was it. So the FaceTime ends, whatever, her phone's gone, disappeared, you never see it again the rest of the night.
Literally.
Okay. And you have no idea if it was on or not, you think it's on her though?
Yes.
So when you get back home, the phone's not there, right?
No.
There's no cell phones there?
No, just my phone.
Do you have any other cell phones in the house?
Only other cell phone that was in the living room is my girlfriend's old iPhone, which broke during our argument.
It was when you guys were arguing?
Yeah.
Is that when the table broke?
Yes.
What were you guys arguing about?
She was feeling as though I wasn't taking her side because her manager told her that what she was wearing was something to her stomach.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I understand the manager irritated you, but she just asked what the dress code was. So she came home, and this was funny, she was pregnant, so it makes more sense now on why that whole thing happened. But she came home, I was just like, babe, so what did you wear your first week there, and what are you wearing now? My point is like, you got too comfortable, so you're wearing different clothing compared to what you're supposed to be wearing. And the bagel she was eating, she smacked me with the bagel, and I ended up throwing her phone at the table, which broke her phone and shattered everything on the table.
Okay, and this was, when did this happen?
You and your bagel with you?
She smacked me with the bagel.
Oh, that's bad. I hate getting hit with bagels.
Yeah.
When was this?
This would have been,
You said a couple months ago, then you said January.
this was before New Year's, so at least like 2 weeks before New Year's.
So 2 weeks before,
I don't know the exact date, but I told my mom about it.
so 2 weeks before Christmas?
Yeah. Yes, before Christmas. Because it was Christmas and New Year's is coming. Yeah.
Okay. So she works at a factory though, right?
Yes.
I mean, well, what's the big deal with dress code? So she didn't like that, and
She felt like I was not taking her side with her, so she told me.
Okay. So she took bang what you.
She smacked me with the big
She spanked you. What'd you do back?
I threw my phone through her phone, and we had a whole heated argument. She smacked me again, and I walked up the house, I called mom, I called my brother. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, all I told her, I was just trying to have a conversation. I didn't want to argue or anything. I was trying to de-escalate, basically. I knew she's going to get angry, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
But it turned into a whole argument.
So, all right. So then you take off. So now you're back up in the driveway, right? So you take off to Highland Park.
Yes.
What time was that? Do you have any idea?
No.
Because 9:59. You said you walked out of the house before, so no time frame.
No, not when I left. When I took her to work.
Okay. So after you dumped her at Highland Park, where do you go from there?
I went home.
Did you stop anywhere?
No.
Did you talk to anybody?
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay. So when you got home, did you talk to anybody?
I got home, I was talking to Katrina. She's asking about, I believe she's asking about the babies or asking what the boys were doing. She said she was feeling sick. You're finding out, just before we knew she was pregnant, she was feeling nauseous and everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need to come home.
Okay.
Come pick me up. So I had that, and now it's around 2-something.
You picked her up at, or what time did you?
I left the house at least at like 1:50 something, I would say. Or closer. I just know she texted me to come get her.
Yep.
At like 2 something. Or getting close to 2.
Okay, so you went to Highland Park, threw the body, and you're back home, right? You don't stop anywhere, you don't talk to anybody until you get back home. So you get home, you think it's, at what time?
Let's do like 1 something, I think.
Okay, so after you get home is when you have contact again with somebody, with Katrina.
I don't talk to anybody else after that, yeah.
Okay, so because you think you talked to a lot, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but you stopped talking to her for those few hours that Zion was at your house.
Yeah, she doesn't text or do anything when she's at work.
Did you tell Katrina that Zion was there?
No, because I just dumped her body, so that conversation would have been wild, and I didn't want to get her involved in anything.
Okay, so that night you never told her, you just went about your night as just mundane business?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you, I'm sure at this point you had to talk about it with her, correct?
No, I don't want to tell her anything.
Okay, so you still at this point haven't told her, like, hey, Zion was over, or nothing like that?
Tell her, so you engaged me and I told her you better tell her what's going on. I remember that.
No, she didn't know until...
So when he came to, I can tell you that for a fact. He came to me. I said, have you told anyone this? I said, you know, your girl's going to find out and you got hell to pay. I remember that. So she didn't know, she wouldn't have known anything till when? Probably that Saturday evening?
When we came back the next, because during the whole thing,
there's something I have to tell you there, and I do have to tell you this. What night was that? That would have been the night of the Rams?
yeah.
So they were staying up in Waterford.
My brother.
And that was, everything was good because they came and got his car.
Monday night.
And
The Rams played Monday night.
Right,
Yep.
but they came and got his car.
Towards the weekend.
Was that Sunday? Or that?
That was like early Friday. Or was
No,
that was Saturday.
That was Sunday.
Okay, so early
That was
Sunday.
Sunday. Well, whatever the day it was. He received a threat. And, excuse me. He received a threat, and they received a subsequent threat. And I told him, I said, listen, you can't go back to that location because somehow they found out he was staying in Waterford. I said, if worst comes to worst, you come to me. So I received a knock on the door. What time was that?
At this point, I don't know. It was so much on a day.
It was
very
been like maybe
morning.
10 or something in the morning, 10 at night,
Yeah.
or something like that. Him and his whole family came. And I said, well, now, you know, I ain't getting involved with your shit, okay? So he stayed at my house. And I divulged that to, I think, Miss Logan, or, you know, I told her, because they were receiving death threats from the Milton side of the family, which created a whole nother issue.
Yep.
Because it turns out I represent one of the Miltons, but not anyone. I don't even. She might be like the second cousin of what's the mother's name? Sierra Milton. So I represent a Marquita Milton and a Shakita Milton.
Okay.
And I didn't know that there was any kind of relationship until I found out his mom's maiden name. So that I never knew there was any Milton anything because the girl's name is Zion Foster.
Okay.
So I didn't know there was any kind of potential conflict, but then the conflict's been resolved.
Okay. So Monday night, Monday night, the night of the Rams, he came to your house.
Came to my house.
Okay. So does Katrina know now?
Yes.
Okay, so you told her that she had no idea at the time.
Because I told him he couldn't stay if she doesn't know what's going on. She really needs to know what's going on.
So, was she shocked by Zion being there?
No.
She hasn't been there, right?
Yeah, and
I mean, would
She
you
didn't know the whole story is what she was shocked by.
Well, I'm sure she's probably pissed.
Yeah, she's gonna
no
know.
matter what, it's a little deal. But so she doesn't know that night. But you normally talk to her like how often do you text Katrina, if you're not with her, like several times an hour, like 10 times an hour, 20 times an hour,
The whole day, basically.
the whole day you're texting, right?
No, the whole day we're together.
Yeah.
We're never on the phone.
But if you're apart, you guys you're texting,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so like more than 3 times an hour, you think?
No,
Like,
if she's at work, she really does not be on the phone.
Okay.
So we just don't talk. Unless there's something happening, like she's
So
on
if
the
she's
phone.
working hours, then your text messaging is not as frequent.
Yeah.
Would she be pissed if you picked her up from work and said, hey, Zion was just here for the last 3 hours?
No.
No, she'd be okay with
Yeah,
that?
she's completely cool. She knows Zion, she likes Zion, everything.
Okay. But she hasn't been to your house since May, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're all good?
Yeah.
Right? So there's no reason why you'd hide that from her?
At all.
Okay. But Zion would just openly just be like, hey, I'm over at Jaylin's house, we're just smoking weed.
Yeah.
Was everybody fine with that?
Well, yeah, I spoke to her mom and she smoked, and that was that.
Right. But she had a boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How was he about him?
I have no idea. We do not speak. I don't know that man. Never seen him or anything.
So you never had an issue with him and Zion? There was no issue, there's no jealousy between
I don't know
Katrina
at all.
or whoever her boyfriend is, nothing like that? That was never an issue? There was never an argument about it?
Not at all.
Nothing. So you never told a family member or nothing that you guys were arguing about that night or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Here's what I want to do. I want to have you show us the dumpster.
Okay.
Because I don't want to mistake it, and I want to obviously get out there and see if she's still there, then we need to recover her, and if not, then we need to do the steps to locate where she's at.
Okay.
You're okay with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so let me get that set up, and then,
You want to do that tonight?
yeah, we're going to do that.
Let's get it going. No time like the present.
Also, a DNA, a bucket swab, are you okay with that? A bucket swab?
He's okay.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, don't fill out that.
So we gotta go fill that out and then, we'll bring that back.
You say a butthole swab?
It's called a buckle.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're not doing that. But yes, a buckle swab.
Get my charger going.
Stop the video briefly, 53 minutes and 50 seconds. Sergeant Jones, there was a discussion about a buccal swab.
Yes.
What's a buccal swab?
It's like a long Q-tip that we use to collect saliva from somebody to collect their DNA.
Okay, and that's just to preserve a DNA sample for potential analysis in the future?
Yes, to compare to any evidence that might be recovered.
Okay. I'm going to skip ahead from 53 minutes and 50 seconds to 55 minutes and 48 seconds.
So let me run this back. Are you going to go too?
I'm good. Might as well. Spike need to squeeze me in the back seat of the car.
Well, no, I'm just making suggestions. The options are I can write out the statement while you're here, not going to have him sign anything until he gets back anyhow. You can review it. They can take him with the camera to go identify what dumpster and then bring him back. Or you can ride with him. You tell me when you're...
I think I'll probably ride with him. I want to see the area too.
Okay.
Stay with me.
Okay.
I'm going to get busy. Dude.
Stop the video 56 minutes and 27 seconds, and then skip ahead to 58 minutes and 27 seconds.
Shay, what's your name, Jones?
Is my last name Jones? Yeah.
Shay, are we related?
No.
How do you know?
Because my name is Jones by marriage.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Question, you have cameras on your house?
Yes.
What company?
It says Vivient.
Vivient?
Yeah.
And did you already delete what was on
I
there?
didn't touch the cameras at all. So,
Well, how does it record?
it records motion.
At
And
what point?
let's say it comes to the doorbell, the camera will flick on.
Okay, so what about when you're pulling into the driveway?
I'm not sure. It probably would, yes. If I pull it around and say any kind of motion that it picks up that particular thing, it'll ping on it.
Okay, and you have an account for that?
No, it was reinstalled when we moved into the duplex.
So is that, are you renting there?
Yes.
So does that homeowner or whoever owns that house, they have the access to that cameras?
Yeah.
Okay, and then who is that?
Her name's Pamela.
Pamela?
No, that's turned down. Doctor. My girlfriend knows, and my mom has deletes and everything that has the landlord's name and everything on it.
Okay, and the cameras, how many cameras are there?
There's one and two. There's one, the doorbell camera, and there's one on the side of the house that looks like...
So the doorbell and then the side by the driveway?
Yes.
Did you need that?
No, I didn't need it. I said I didn't need it. I just said-
I gotta ask him something that's okay. So, do you have an OnlyFans?
No.
What's that?
OnlyFans?
What's that?
It's where they meet.
It's about porn site. So if I wanted to do porn and sell my porn, you could...
Like Pornhub?
I guess.
No, you make your own and you sell it. You do it live and people pay to see.
You shouldn't be on those
Live.
sites.
Well, I'm not. That's what I had to figure out what it was. So when there's some reports that it was, and I got to clarify because you had a few laptops at your
I have
house.
one laptop. Well, my girl has one that she uses for school, and I have a red one that I really touch and she uses that for school as well.
Okay, there's a tablet or something too, but it came up. So there's some tips and stuff like that. You were doing OnlyFans page or something.
Never.
So you have not participated, made, or tried to sell any
No.
homemade sex videos, nothing like that.
Not at all.
Okay, there's gonna be nothing like that on the computers or anything.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, never.
Yeah, I'm just telling that now, because just so you know, when you delete anything, it's really not deleted.
You know what I told him? I told him that.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, that's why, and like I said, I'm trying to build a relationship here, and
He's prepared.
Just tell
He's prepared to give you his phones. I told him
Yeah.
that
That's got
there's Cellbrite, Cellhawk,
yeah,
all that. I told
What is
him.
that?
Cellbrite,
Cellbrite.
I told him all of that. I said, turn those things over because they'll actually help him.
yeah. I mean, if we got it, there's no sense of lying. And I'm telling you right now, like, there's no. Tell me if there's something that you think you might have lied on or been truthful or misleading.
You wanna read this over?
Just tell me right now.
This is the
Because we're gonna find out. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And this right here is your opportunity. You know, there's no gimmicks, no takebacks. 3 weeks from now, go, oh, that's right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So let's hash it out.
You're going to initial
No,
inside.
I've never made any like OnlyFans content or anything like that.
Okay.
Fine. This allows you them to take the swab.
Oh, it's fun.
Right. No, not exactly. Doesn't use your DNA
She just wanted to
to
know
compare
if we need it. Okay,
to any DNA found.
just whatever we go with.
And you said sign where?
Yeah, sign at the bottom where it says name of the
Print sign.
I'll print your name underneath there. Do the opposite, something.
You did it
And
wrong.
then put the date and time, which I put the date and time over there already. Just do it again.
Did you want the initial?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
All right.
So all I'm going to do is rub the inside of your cheek,
Okay.
one on each side, one at a time, for like 10 seconds. Okay? And then I'm going to close the marker, just so you can remark where that dumpster is on there in the marker.
And at this point, Sergeant, is the audio redacted because of discussion about something that you understand is not admissible in court?
Yes. Owner of who you pay rent to, I should be able to find out who the owner is. You don't remember the name at all?
No, they handled that. My mom will handle that.
Your mom will handle that? So
Yeah.
at some point you can make sure that I get that information,
Yeah.
right? And it was a Vivian video?
Yes.
Okay. And they're coordinating, let me see, they might be them moving me if they're ready. Is it the area that you're about to show them? Are you familiar with that area?
Just from driving through.
I mean, do you know anybody? What made you go there?
Ultimately, I think like when I first jobbed, when we first came back to Michigan, I worked at Magna. So I knew it's in Highland Park.
Okay. Is it Applewood or something?
Yeah, I guess it's maybe a couple streets or.
I mean, so my question is, what brought you to that spot?
That was really kind of just spontaneous. I didn't want to put her anywhere that's like down the street from my house or anything, you know.
Okay.
So
you went over there, that's the other familiar area that because you used to work somewhere
Yes.
close?
Yes.
At Magna?
Yes.
And then your cell phone,
The FBI, they came in when they asked for that when they took my car.
how long have you had that phone? That actual phone, not the phone number.
Probably about a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you delete stuff off the phone?
No.
You didn't delete contacts, erase anything, like if you did it, I get everything has been leading up to you trying to conceal something, right?
No.
So that's why I'm asking you, was there anything deleted off there? Because the phone records are not going to be deleted, right? We're still going to get those and it's going to show all that. So if they opened up your phone, it would have messages going back all the way since you've owned that phone.
Yeah.
Nothing's been removed or deleted.
Only thing that's been deleted was the boyfriend. The boyfriend, he texted me.
The who?
The boyfriend texted me.
Okay. How did he have your number?
I'm not here.
Okay.
What's his name?
Bertez.
Okay.
Who?
Bertez.
Okay.
Okay.
That's really, yeah, that's it.
So what is her name stored as in your phone?
Zion?
Yeah.
It was simply Zion.
Zion?
Yeah.
And then do you have like a Gmail account or anything attached to that?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
You have your Gmail account, like the locations and all that, you have your access to that?
You mean like
Like what's your username for Gmail?
it's just my email, Jaylin Omar.
J?
Yeah, Jaylin Omar.
JAYLINOMAR?
Yes.
At
15
gmail.com.
at gmail.com.
15?
Yes, at gmail.com.
So what I'm asking that is that would also like help show where you went.
Mhm.
So if we were to look into the Google, it might be able to show us that. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you know what
activity.
the password is to that?
It's Brazier 14.
What is it?
BRAZIER 14.
That's the password to your Gmail.
Yes.
Okay.
Is Zion's number still on your phone? Or did you delete her?
It's still there. Yeah.
It's still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you delete any pictures or anything off your phone or anything like that?
No. The phone's like I didn't really take a lot of pictures like yet.
Yeah.
I pictures like my cat, girlfriend, kids and stuff. So all that's still in my gallery.
Okay, so you never reset the phone up like that, right? And nothing else was deleted?
No.
Just like it was 2 months ago? Okay.
Was she ever in the basement at that house?
No.
So nothing that was swabbed in the basement would show any of her DNA
At all.
or anything like
We were
that?
in the living room the whole time.
Well, what about any other times? Was she ever in
Never.
She's never been in. So her stuff, there should be absolutely nothing, no fingerprints, nothing of hers in the basement.
At all.
The only place that she was on the main floor.
Yes.
What about upstairs?
No.
She never went upstairs. She didn't want to see the kids. None of that.
The kids, did she bring any kids into the house?
No, I hear you both on the
Okay, I'm just asking.
Could she have been went down in the basement like when you were looking or anything?
I don't know why she would have wanted to. Like,
I'm just asking, like if you were in the kitchen or doing something, could she have snuck down there or just went down there for
no,
something?
I don't think so.
You have an iCloud account?
Oh, yes.
What is that?
Hurt Locker 88.
HURT?
Yep.
LOCKER?
Yep, 88.
88? Is there a password?
Yep, Brazier 14.
Kept it simple, huh?
Yeah.
13 or 14?
14.
Okay. Okay, I think they're getting the car ready to be able to take you guys over there. While you guys are off doing that, I'm going to write out our statement, what we've been talking about, and then you guys are going to review it and all that stuff. Okay? So let me go see where they're at with that.
Do you see how this is done?
Stop the video at 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 8 seconds. And resume at 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 18 seconds.
This was the thing that was going to be moonlight. You
Do
don't.
you have access to those cameras in the
No.
house?
It's a thing in the house.
There's a thing in the house?
Yeah, that because they disconnected when they came in. So
that's the only way you could access it, was by the screen?
Yeah.
What would you do?
you just click it and you click like recent, and it'll show you any activity that was recent. But as far as like admin access or whatever, we couldn't never really touch any of that.
Okay. So you couldn't get to it on your phone?
No.
No app?
They have an app, but the app does not work.
Okay. Do you have the password to the app or anything
It
like
didn't need a
that?
password. It connected through like Wi-Fi, whatever signal they used to bounce around.
Okay. Next question. When the dumpster, was there only one dumpster there or two? Or
There's two.
There's two?
Yes, two of the.
Was there anything in it, did you notice?
I have no idea. I didn't look.
And is there a side door or you had to push her over the top?
Over the top.
And then it had the lids that come down?
Yes,
Were the lids already open or you had to open them up?
they're open.
And then did you put anything on top of her?
No,
So you just threw the body in there?
that was
That's
it.
Okay.
She was definitely dead at that point.
Was that a question? Oh, yeah, yeah. From my understanding, dead bodies definitely should be dead.
Was she heavy?
Yeah, it's like most people are pretty heavy. Yeah.
It was the
I'm not heavy.
No.
I'm not heavy either. I'm just Portland. Yeah.
I'm going to stop the video at 1 hour and 17 minutes into it. And, Sergeant Jones, is it fair to say that that concluded this portion of the statement with the defendant?
Yes.
And what happened at this point, based on your understanding? What did you specifically do at that point?
So at this point, we had members that assisted that took him and his attorney out to be taken to the area that he was describing to them where the dumpster was.
And did you accompany them on that excursion?
No, sir.
And while they were out there, what did you do?
So I prepared a written statement and typed out the different things that we had discussed, and then that statement was provided back to Mr. Brazier and his attorney, and we reviewed that together.
Okay. Before we get to that written statement, just briefly, I'm holding what's been marked as proposed exhibit 42, a transcript. Have you reviewed this?
Yes.
And does this transcript fairly and accurately capture the statement, the recorded statement that we just reviewed in terms of exhibit 39?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of exhibit 42, the transcript of the interrogation.
Any objection?
Your Honor, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry.
And if I could just add I guess one point of clarification, that there's a redaction in the transcript, is that correct, for that same area that was discussed about something that's inadmissible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But other than that, it's a fair and accurate depiction of the statement that you took with the defendant on January 19th,
Yes.
2022.
No objection.
Granted submitted.
And may I publish just one thing briefly, Your Honor?
Sure.
I want to just bring up page 29 of the transcript. At the top, there was a question that you asked about when the defendant purchased the marijuana that he had that night. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And there was an answer that he provided that included some description of seizures that he had. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did he ever say anything about Zion having a seizure the night that he threw her body away?
No.
Did he ever say anything about getting scratched by a cat that night?
No.
And I'm also holding what's been marked as proposed exhibit 41. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
You mentioned a written statement that you ultimately compiled based on the interview that you conducted. Is proposed exhibit 41 a copy of that statement?
Yes, sir.
And was that something that the defendant and Attorney Gary Jones had the opportunity to review with you?
Yes.
And did the defendant do anything to adopt that statement as his own in your presence?
Yes, he signed it and dated it with the time.
Okay, and that document that you're holding that's marked as proposed exhibit 41, is that a fair and accurate copy of the original statement that the defendant signed in your presence back on January 19th of 2022?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would ask to admit proposed exhibit 41.
Any objection?
No objection.
Granted submitted.
And may I publish, Your Honor?
Yes.
I just want to walk through this this statement, Sergeant Jones. What's the first question that is posed to the defendant in this statement?
The first question is, do you understand I am conducting an investigation into Zion Foster, who was reported missing?
And what was the answer?
Yes.
And what was the next question that was posed to the defendant?
Can you tell me the last time you saw Zion?
And can you read the answer?
The answer was, on January 4, 2022, I dropped my girlfriend off at work in Madison Heights around 10, and then I sent Zion a text asking if she wanted to smoke marijuana. She replied yes, and I told her that I would come and pick her up. I went and picked Zion up from her house in East Point. I picked her up in my 2005 Acura 4-door sedan, off-white in color. No, off-white would be the color. And we went directly to my house at 19451 Greenfield. I had my two sons in the car with me, Deshaun and Isaiah. We got to the house and I carried my sons upstairs and Zion stayed in the living room. I watched some PJ Masks with them till they went to sleep, then went down into the living room with Zion and we started smoking some marijuana.
And what was the next question that was posed to the defendant?
Who had the marijuana?
And what was the answer?
I had some and Zion had some. We mixed it together.
And what was the next message that was posed to the defendant?
Where did you get your marijuana from?
And what was the answer?
I buy it at Liv's in Ferndale. I bought it a couple months ago. Zion had hers in a sandwich bag and it had some purple leaves, but I don't know where she got it from.
And what was the next question that was posed?
What happened next?
And what was the answer?
We smoked weed and she was there for a couple hours. It was time for her to go home, so I asked her if she was ready. She said she was tired, so I let her sleep a little bit and went into the kitchen to get something to drink. When I came back out, I saw Zion's head was tilted back on the couch and she wasn't responding when I was calling her name. I went over to her. She had very shallow breathing and a faint heartbeat. I shook her a couple times trying to wake her up, but she didn't respond.
Okay, and you see at the bottom of the first page, is there a signature on that page?
Yes.
Whose signature would that be?
Mr. Brazier's.
Okay, and what's the next question that was posed starting toward the top of page 2?
The next question was, then what did you do?
And what was the answer?
I checked her again and she was barely breathing. I panicked and I thought it would look like I killed her. So I carried her out to the trunk of my car and drove to Highland Park where I found a trash can and put her in it. I then came back home.
And what was the next question that was posed to the defendant?
Did you take your kids with you when you left?
And what was the answer?
No, I left them asleep at the house.
And what was the next question?
What time was this at?
And the answer?
It was a couple hours after she was over. I don't know the time.
And what was the next question?
Did you call anyone after?
And what was the answer?
No, my girlfriend Katrina texted me around 2 saying she was sick, and I went and picked her up. I never told her that Zion had been over because I had just thrown her in the trash and I didn't want to involve her.
And what was the next question?
Why didn't you call for an ambulance for Zion?
And what was the answer?
I was scared and thought it looked like I killed her.
And what was the next question?
How do you know if Zion was dead before you put her in the trunk?
And what was the answer?
She was not moving. I put my hand under her nose and she had no breath. I put my hand on her neck and she had no pulse. She was definitely dead.
And what was the reason behind the "she was definitely dead" part being handwritten instead of signed?
Yep, so that was at the request of Mr. Jones and Mr. Brazier to add that at the end of that sentence. So I added that, and then I had Mr. Brazier initial it. That would be the letters at the end of that sentence.
Okay. And what was the next question?
Describe the trash can that you put Zion in.
And the answer?
It was green, larger one with the large lids on top. They were already open.
And what was the next question?
Like the trash cans for a house or for a business.
And the answer?
The larger one like for a business.
And what was the next question?
Did you wrap her in anything before you put her in the trunk?
And the answer?
No.
And the next question?
Did you cover her with anything after throwing her into the trash?
And the answer?
No.
And the next question?
Where is the area in Highland Park?
The answer?
I drove down Davis into Woodward, and there is a Little Caesars near there, and there were 2 green trash bins, the large ones. I threw her inside the trash can by the alley and left.
And what was the next question?
Have you and Zion ever been in a relationship?
And the answer?
No.
And the next question?
Did you guys have an argument?
And the answer?
No.
The next question?
I am providing you with a map of the area. Can you draw on it where you went?
And the answer?
Yes.
And would that be the same map that was previously admitted that we discussed yesterday?
Yes.
And the next question?
Would you be able to point out the location if you were taken there?
And the answer?
Yes.
And the next question?
Did Zion have a phone?
And the answer?
Yes. She has a phone and was texting, and I think she talked to someone on video while she was there.
And what was the next question?
What did you do with her phone?
And the answer?
I didn't take her phone. She puts it in her pocket or in her bra area. It must have been with her when I put her in the trash.
And the next question?
Do you still have any of the marijuana that you guys smoked that night?
And the answer?
If I do, it would be in an orange jar under the TV in the living room.
And the next question?
Is there anything else you would like to add?
And the answer?
No.
Sergeant, I am holding a handful of discs. One is marked as proposed exhibit 48, labeled DDC calls. One is marked as proposed exhibit 52, labeled Macomb County jail calls. One is marked as proposed exhibit 62, labeled Wayne County jail calls. And one is marked as proposed exhibit 83, labeled MBOC calls. Are you familiar with these 4 discs?
Yes, sir.
And do each of these 4 discs contain some audio recordings on them?
Yes.
And did you review those particular audio recordings on the discs?
Yes.
Now, is there a voice in the recordings on those discs that you have some familiarity with?
Yes.
And what's the basis of your familiarity with that voice?
The voice is that of Mr. Brazier's.
And is your familiarity based on your discussion that you had with him back in January 19th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I don't have any further questions for Sergeant Jones at this time. I do anticipate I'm going to plan to recall her tomorrow for another discrete part of the case that I need to lay some further foundation for.
Okay. Cross-examination.
Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning.
Now, you were contacted by Mr. Brazier's then attorney, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and they were making arrangements for Mr. Brazier to come in and talk with you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You didn't have to go pick up Mr. Brazier or look for him, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there wasn't a warrant out for him at that particular time. That be a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. And you also heard from his attorney that he tried to contact multiple Wayne County prosecutors prior to him coming in on that particular day, correct?
I heard him say that, yes.
Okay. And you were under understanding that he also tried to contact East Point Police, correct?
That's what I'm told from
Okay.
hearing from him.
Okay. And you had a conversation with the detective from East Point Police Department, correct?
Correct.
And you were able to confirm that allegation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you, per I guess, author any search warrant affidavits?
Throughout the entire case?
Yes.
I don't believe I authored any of the search warrants. I think they were all prepped by different members on the team that were assisting.
Okay.
I may be wrong. There's multiple search warrants that were submitted, so.
Okay. And you were you the officer in charge at that particular time on the video?
So at a particular time in the video, there's a team of us.
Okay.
So I'm not necessarily the officer in charge at that point. We do our investigation, and that's when we'll determine who's going to be the officer in charge.
Okay. Was there an officer in charge at that particular time?
After the interview? Yes.
Okay. And was that you?
No.
Do you know whether or not anybody went to look for this particular jar of marijuana? If you know.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know if that was found?
No. Well,
You don't know if it's found or it wasn't found?
it was not found.
Now, you stated that when Mr. Brazier and his then attorney went to go show your fellow officers this particular location, you stayed back at the station and you written up a statement?
Yes.
Okay. And so to be fair to say that Mr. Brazier and Mr. Jones was not there when you typed that particular statement up, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it'd be fair to say that you weren't giving a narrative as you were typing that statement up to Mr. Brazier or Mr. Jones, correct?
The narrative was established during the interview.
Okay. My question is, as you were typing up that particular statement, you were not giving a narrative as you were typing it to Mr. Jones and or Mr. Brazier, correct?
They were not there, correct.
Okay. Approximately how long did it take you to type up this particular statement?
I believe it was finished right around the same time they were back,
Okay. So approximately how long did it take?
but I would have to look at the time when they left. It was less than an hour.
That's an hour. Okay. Now, what did you do in order to write this particular statement? Did you rely on your notes? Did you go back and play the video? What did you do?
Both.
You did both?
Correct.
Okay. And where did you go view the video at?
My desk.
The desk? Oh, so you can just go to your desk and hit rewind of the footage that was being portrayed in this particular room, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you were able to listen to the whole video within an hour in order for you to recreate this statement?
I didn't need to listen to the whole video again, so I had my notes. And if there was something that I was trying to rewind to hear what was said, then that would be a part where I would rewind to.
Okay. And on your notes, did you put like 15 minutes into this interview, he said this in order to give you a cue if you needed to rewind a particular video, how far back you needed to go?
No.
Okay, so you just had to guess on what you remembered when he said a particular statement on how far to go back to try to refresh your memory?
I didn't need to refresh my memory to the point where I just finished talking to Mr. Brazier.
Okay.
So this was within minutes of having the end of our conversation. I didn't have to have time notes to know how far back to go.
Okay. And it'd be a fair statement that he repeatedly through this statement indicated that prior to him placing Miss Foster into the trunk, that he didn't sense any breathing and or a heartbeat. That'd be a fair statement, correct?
It changed.
You said it changed?
Correct.
Okay. You would agree he repeatedly said that she was not breathing and or there was a faint heartbeat prior to him placing her in the trunk. Repeatedly stated that, correct?
He repeatedly stated about the faint heartbeat and the shallow breathing before placing her in the trunk. After those sentences, that's when he started to add that she was dead.
So you would agree that he repeatedly stated that she was dead prior to placing her into the trunk, correct?
After, yes.
And you would agree that when you typed that statement up, you didn't indicate on that statement that what he told you about her being shallow or no breathing and no heartbeat prior to placing her in the trunk. You would agree that that's not reflected originally on the statement, correct?
No, the original sentence is from what he said when he said that she had shallow breathing and a faint pulse. He panicked and took her and threw her in the trunk and then took her to the dumpster.
Okay.
It was several minutes after that that he discussed that now he believes she was dead.
Okay, so the purpose of you writing that statement was to basically summarize the totality of your interview, correct?
Yes.
And you knew during that particular interview, he stated that he tested her for breathing and there was none, and there was no heartbeat. He stated that multiple times during that interview, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but you declined to put that particular information into the written statement, correct?
Correct.
In fact, his lawyer at that particular time had to inform you, like, hey, you're missing out a particular important detail that he stated, correct?
Yes.
And you had to handwrite it and have him initial that particular statement, correct?
Correct.
Now, was this part of the interview videotaped? Where you presented this particular statement to Mr. Brazier to sign?
Yes, it was in the same room.
It was it. Okay, wasn't my question. My question is, was it videotaped?
While they were reading the statement
Yes.
and I made the correction, yes.
Yes. Okay, was it? Okay. Now, is there a particular reason why you felt to leave that particular important detail out, this particular written statement?
I didn't purposely leave it out. My statement is a summary of the...
Was it an accident? Did you accidentally leave it out?
No.
So if it wasn't purposeful or accidentally, what would you classify the fact that this particular important information was left out the statement? Was it an accident? What was it?
Yeah, so my statement is from when I had the interview and the discussions that we had and what he had explained to me that he did. I type out the questions and then what his responses were. I also present that to him to review. So if there is any changes or anything that I missed that he wants to add, and he's also asked that at the very end of the statement, if he has anything further that he wants to add to the statement, which he declined, and that's why he has the opportunity in front of his lawyer as well to review anything that's been typed out.
Okay. So you said it wasn't purposeful, but it wasn't an accident, but you do agree it was left out, correct?
Correct.
And were you in total control of this particular statement, or did you give it to somebody else to edit it, or that they could have took it out, or just
No.
to be clear? Okay. Did you ever go to the particular scene on Greenfield, his house?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever request, you personally, or if it was requested, for any fingerprints or DNA to be checked upstairs or downstairs in the basement? Oh, Miss Foster, I'm sorry.
I know that when I went out with the FBI team, and we were out there to do different testing with luminol, looking for any biological evidence.
Okay. And do you know what areas they were looking in this house for?
Yes, we looked in the living room and the couch where he had described that the incident took place.
Okay. And you posed the question, or the question was posed to Mr. Brazier, whether or not Ms. Foster went upstairs or downstairs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you physically ever check downstairs with the luminol or the alternative light source?
I don't do any of the luminol.
Did you see anybody from the FBI or from the evidence tech from the Detroit Police or Michigan State Police ever check upstairs or downstairs in the basement?
They did go upstairs and downstairs. I don't remember seeing any testing being done in those areas, but we did go throughout the entire house.
Okay. And who was the officer in charge at that particular time when you were at the house?
So when I'm at the house, it's assigned to myself and to Detective Yeoman, who's sitting there.
Okay, so you had some authority at that particular location at that particular time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you didn't direct anybody to go upstairs to check with the luminol or the alternative light source or check in the basement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a particular reason why you didn't request those particular areas to be checked?
Usually when we are given a location of an area, we will look in that area that was the area of focus with the broken table. We saw that different things that had gone on. By the time we got there with the luminol, multiple people had already been in and out of this location. There was no question on whether she was there. Different things are processed depending on the different evidence that you're given.
Okay. Okay. Now, it may not be a question that she was there, but there was a question whether or not she went upstairs or downstairs, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't instruct your staff or fellow officers to verify whether or not that particular question actually took place, correct?
Which question?
Whether or not she went upstairs or downstairs in the house.
Did I ask somebody to go verify whether she made it upstairs or downstairs?
To process that particular area to see if there was evidence that she went upstairs or downstairs.
No, those areas were not processed.
Okay. Did you instruct anybody to process this table for DNA?
We did look at the table, yes.
Okay. I know you looked at the table. My question is whether or not you instructed anybody to process the table for DNA.
So when we're at a scene and there's
yes or no?
Well, I wouldn't be the authority to tell somebody pick up that piece of glass. I'm not a luminol or expert on different items that should be tested to gather evidence.
But as an officer in charge, one of your duties is to instruct evidence techs on what particular evidence to gather, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
What area?
Or what evidence to actually collect and bag it and then have it sent for processing. That's one of your duties, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And some of your duties are to swab certain objects for DNA, correct, for processing, correct? Some of your duties as an officer in charge is to instruct evidence techs to process certain evidence for fingerprints and send it off, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And on this particular day, at this particular location, you never told any of the evidence techs to process this particular table for DNA, correct?
Not correct.
So you're saying that you told the evidence techs to process this table for DNA, is what you're saying?
So the FBI team that was out there, they were told the area of the living room, they were advised where the table was, it was in the backyard, and these were all items that, through their expertise, they review, they look at, and then they...
Sergeant, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What I'm asking is, did you, I'm not talking about what the FBI independently felt like doing. I'm talking about you as the officer in charge at this particular location. Because you were the officer in charge at the time, correct?
At that scene, yes.
Okay, and you had the authority, correct?
Yes.
This was a state crime, correct?
Correct.
The FBI was there in a capacity to help, correct?
Yes.
They didn't have authority over you in this particular scene, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it was your decision of what evidence is collected and processed, correct?
Yes.
So my question, I'll go back to my original question. You did not instruct the evidence techs or whoever was in there to help you to process this particular table for DNA, correct?
I am not able to tell somebody if they look at, they knew about the table, and if they look at it and through their expertise and their way of processing, I'm not going to tell them to just pick up a table and process it if there's no value to it after they looked at it.
Okay. You're the officer in charge, correct?
Yes.
And you work for the homicide task force, correct?
Yes.
You're a homicide detective, correct?
Sergeant.
I'm sorry. You're a homicide sergeant, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you went to many crime scenes before, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you've had other opportunities where you may see something that somebody doesn't see themselves, and you say, hold on, I think that is important. Let's collect it, correct?
Yes.
And that's the reason why you're a sergeant, correct?
Yes.
That's the reason why you're not just a regular patrol officer who's taking off the scene, correct? Correct?
Correct.
Because the Detroit Police Department relies on your expertise, your knowledge, your experience to be able to go to a particular scene and think outside the box, think other than other people to determine what could be of evidentiary value, correct?
Correct.
So my question again is, at the particular scene, you as the officer in charge, you as a sergeant in the Detroit Police Homicide Department, you did not independently tell the evidence techs to swab this particular table for DNA, correct? Yes or no, Sergeant?
It is not my position, and if you would let me finish to explain it so you understand. When a cadaver dog comes out to the scene, I do not tell the dog where to smell. The dog is given an area of what area that we believe something has happened.
Sergeant, this is an unresponsive answer. I'm sorry. We're talking about the DNA from this table. Now,
Correct.
We'll get to the cadaver dog
Correct.
maybe in a little bit.
Right.
We're talking about specifically this table. You did not have this table tested for DNA. It's a simple yes or no answer, Sergeant.
Okay. The table was presented to the team who is the expert at the DNA, and if they checked it and did not recover anything or see anything that was brought to their from the luminol, then they would not have collected anything.
Okay, but you would agree, I mean, you may not be an expert on luminol, but luminol can check for bodily fluids or blood, correct? That's your understanding that luminol checks for?
It picks up on several things. Yes.
Okay, but a DNA swab needs to be sent off to the Michigan State Police to be analyzed, correct?
If something is illuminated throughout by the luminol, yes.
So you're saying is at first the luminol would detect the DNA,
Yes.
and then you swab it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but to be totally exhaustive, wouldn't it be prudent to, if you brought this table back inside the house and you suspected this table could have played a particular part in this particular incident, wouldn't it be prudent to make sure you dot all your I's and cross your T's to swab this particular table for any DNA?
Judge, I'm going to object on two bases. One, I believe this question has been asked and answered multiple times. Number two, this entire issue of the scene processing is entirely outside of the scope for direct examination, which was limited to the interrogation on January 19th. We already went over the scene yesterday.
And as far as cross, I mean, I have full scope on the cross. I don't have to just pinpoint my cross-examination on what was asked on direct
That's
examination.
not what Michigan Rule Evidence 611 says.
Right. I'll allow some more questions, but I think we covered this
Okay.
pretty thoroughly.
Okay, thank you. Now, it'd be fair that you felt that Mr. Brazier's statement was credible on where this body was at, correct? That'd be fair, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't feel that he had lied about where this particular body was at, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just 1 second, Your Honor. Now, you didn't notice any scratches or on Mr. Brazier, did you?
No.
Did you have him take his clothes off and photograph his body to see whether or not he had any scratches on his body?
No, I don't believe we did, but this was over 2 weeks after.
But so you're saying that you didn't check his body, you didn't photograph his body to see if he had any scratches on his body, correct?
No, I didn't.
And your partners didn't either, correct?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
All right, do you redirect?
Just briefly, Your Honor. Sergeant Jones, just to be clear, the process of that written statement, that's something that you compiled based on the recording that we all watched in court that's been admitted as Exhibit 39, correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you give the defendant an opportunity to review that?
Yes.
And was that in the presence of his attorney?
Yes.
And he ultimately signed that statement?
Yes.
Were you trying to conceal or hide anything when you drafted that statement?
No.
And just to be clear, in this interrogation that we saw, the defendant acknowledged that he threw Zion's body away, correct?
Yes.
He acknowledged that it looked like he killed her.
Yes.
He denied deleting substantially all the data off of his phone, with limited exceptions, correct?
Correct.
He denied ever going back to the area of the dumpster, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Can you be pressed? It was already established or admitted that she was there. Would there be any point to test for DNA?
The DNA that we would have been looking for would have been any type of possible blood or bodily fluids or semen.
Other questions based on that?
Yes, just when you're presented with like an entire house, in your experience, can you just swab the entire house for DNA?
No.
And I guess what's the process of trying to collect DNA samples from an area as big as an entire house?
So the process is the techs go through first and they look for anything that's obvious to the eye where you might already see something. After that, we do a second process where you can come in with different luminol, and those areas are usually tested where we believe that the scene had happened, or if something was possibly cleaned up and something is trying to be concealed. That's where we go more meticulous in those areas to try to luminol and see if anything can still be located.
And Sergeant, you didn't find any evidence of any type of bodily fluids or blood or semen, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you didn't find any evidence that anything was being concealed, correct? In the house?
In the house?
Yes.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Maybe you can step down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. This other people call Beatrice Terrell.
Will you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give before this court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. Please take your seat at the witness stand.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
We'll be asked a series of questions. Please wait till the questions are fully asked before you respond. You'll have one person talking at a time. Please try to avoid our natural tendency for non-verbal answers such as shrugs or nods, as well as others, because those don't translate into the record. If there's an objection, please stop talking until it's resolved. Please keep your voice up, and if you would, please state your name and spell.
Good morning, ma'am. What do you currently do for a living?
I work for the Michigan State Police. I'm a homicide detective.
And how long have you been employed with the Michigan State Police?
6 years.
And how long have you been a homicide?
4 years.
And what's your current role as a homicide detective with the Michigan State Police?
Right now, I work with the homicide task force. I work along with Detroit Police Department.
Okay, and what is the homicide task force? Can you just describe that?
Homicide Task Force is comprised of Detroit Police Department, Michigan State Police, the ATF, and we take high-profile cases for police officer-involved shootings, children under the age of 13, and sometimes we help the missing persons unit with Detroit.
And was the homicide task force involved in the investigation into Zion Foster's disappearance back in January 2022?
Yes.
And did you personally have a role in this investigation?
Yes.
As part of your role in the investigation, on January 21st of 2022, did you have an opportunity to interview someone by the name of Katrina Smith?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, what was her relationship, if any, to the defendant in this case?
She was the mother to his children, and they lived together.
Okay. And when you took the statement from Ms. Smith back on the 21st of January, at the conclusion of that statement, did you collect her cell phone from her?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of collecting that cell phone?
It was to go back to the Detroit Police Headquarters to pass it on to Detective Marco for her to do a forensic extraction of the cell phone.
Okay. And when you collected Ms. Smith's cell phone, did you place that phone into evidence?
Yes.
And can you just describe for the jury when physical items like a phone are placed into evidence? What does that mean?
When any item is placed into evidence, it's called tracker. You put the description of the phone or whatever item that you have into tracker, and it gives it an item number under the case number that you put it in.
Okay, and when you collected Ms. Smith's phone and put it into evidence, was it given a specific item number in connection with this case?
Yes.
And what was that item number?
It was item number 49.
Okay. And in terms of your interview with Ms. Smith and the collection of her phone, was that something that was captured on video?
Yes, it was on a body-worn camera.
And I'm holding what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 31. Have we reviewed this together before? And does this just contain a short clip of body-worn camera showing the recovery of Ms. Smith's cell phone back on January 21st of 2022?
Yes.
And does that fairly and accurately depict the recovery of her phone back on that day?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, if I could admit, I move to admit Proposed Exhibit 31.
No objection.
And may I publish just briefly?
Sure.
Yes, I'm seizing the cell phone.
And is that Ms. Smith depicted in the video?
Yes.
I need a phone number so I can contact you so I can give it back to you.
And in terms of your additional role in this investigation, a couple of days before that, before you recovered Ms. Smith's phone and interviewed her, back on January 19th of 2022, was there anything significant that you did on that particular day?
Yes.
And what was it that you were involved with on that particular day?
I was responsible for transporting Sergeant Todd Eby and Attorney Gary Jones at the time to follow a scout car that had Mr. Brazier inside of it.
Okay. And had Mr. Brazier been interviewed by Sergeant Jones prior to you transporting him?
Yes.
And was that an interview that you were you following along while that happened?
Yes.
Okay. And so, can you just describe for the jury how you're able to follow along, even though obviously you were not in the interview room yourself, correct?
Correct. So, at our headquarters, we are able to watch the interview outside of the room. It's a recorded room, and we have a television that we can just watch the interview, and we can hear the conversation that's occurring and see what's going on.
Okay. And so, where can you describe when you left headquarters at the conclusion of the interview? Where did you go from there? What happened?
I followed the scout car with myself, Sergeant Eby, and Gary Jones, and we were in the area of Woodward and Davidson Highway in Highland Park.
Okay. And what was in that area that you ultimately landed at with Mr. Brazier and Mr. Jones?
So we were behind it's like a strip mall, 13234 Woodward. It is a parking lot, and there were grease bins and trash dumpsters.
Okay. And I'm holding what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibits 44 and 45. Are these photos of the particular area that you went to that
Yes.
night? And this is obviously daylight in the photos, but do these photos fairly and accurately depict that area?
Yes.
And I'm also holding what's been marked as proposed exhibit 89. Is this just a sort of a Google satellite overview of that area with a particular portion zoomed in?
Yes.
And does this fairly and accurately depict that area that you went to with Mr. Brazier back on January 19th?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit proposed exhibits 44, 45, and 89.
Okay.
And may I publish?
Sure.
And starting with 89, so the area that's enclosed in the smaller green square, what's the significance of that particular area?
That is where Mr. Brazier took us to in the parking lot. The two green dumpsters and then the grease bin is where he took us.
Okay, and does the larger square sort of reflect a zoom in of that particular area?
Yes.
Okay. And if we take a look at exhibits 44 and 45, is this like, is showing you exhibit 44, is that just kind of a view of that particular area?
Yes.
And same with 45, does this just show a zoomed in view of the two of the main dumpsters in that parking lot?
Yes.
Okay. And when you arrived at that area, did you have any sort of interaction with Mr. Brazier?
Yes.
And what was the nature of that interaction?
He was to identify the dumpster that he put Zion Foster in.
Okay. And was that interaction something that was recorded on video?
Yes, it was on the officer's body-worn camera.
Okay. And I'm holding what's been marked as proposed exhibit 43. Did we review this together too?
Yes.
And is it your understanding that proposed exhibit 43 has a clip of body-worn camera video showing this interaction that you had with the defendant on January 19th of 2022?
Yes.
And does that fairly and accurately reflect the interaction that you had with him in this particular parking lot in Highland Park?
Yes.
I move to admit 43, Your Honor.
No objection.
And may I publish?
Yes.
Should we get him on? Okay. Yeah, it's great.
And who's that depicted in the video at that point?
That is Attorney Gary Jones, and that is Sergeant, the slender one is Sergeant Todd Evie, and that's myself.
Okay.
I got it right here from the front. It's just bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Put him back in the front, I'll do it. Or?
No, because he's talking right back to the front.
Okay. Come on, man. Center.
Judge, would it be possible to turn the volume up?
Sure.
From more up to the left.
Yeah. It was already open. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Where did you park your car?
Right by it, right in front of it.
Park it I'm sorry.
Is that right in front of you?
Did you back into it or did you pull forward? So you were side by side? Okay.
What's it over there?
Okay, and stopping the video, the dumpster that the defendant identified, looking at Exhibit 45, you see the dumpster in this photo?
Yes.
And which of the two dumpsters would it have been?
It'll be the one on the right that's mostly green with the lid closed.
And when you were out there at the area on the night of January 19th, did you look inside that dumpster?
Yes.
And did you see anything notable in it at that time?
No.
So there wasn't a body in the dumpster at that time?
Nobody.
And just for clarity of the record, when throughout your testimony we've been discussing the defendant, Jaylin Brazier, do you happen to see the individual that you interacted with that night in court today?
Yes.
And just for the record, could you point to him and describe what he's wearing?
He has a blue suit on with a green shirt under it.
Thank you. If the record could reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant.
So reflected?
Thank you. No further questions.
Good morning. Just a couple questions. Now, you see Katrina Smith's telephone?
Yes.
Okay. And you were instructed to do this?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know if there was a search warrant that was provided to you to seize this particular phone?
It was consent.
It was consent?
Consent.
She consented to you?
Yes.
Okay. We didn't see that reflected on the video, though, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it seemed like more or less you were demanding her phone. You would agree to that, correct?
No.
Okay. But you didn't ask her, say, hey, now that you consented to handing your phone over, I need your phone. You said, I need to take your phone, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did you have her sign a particular form?
She signed a consent form.
Did you have her sign that form?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
No, Your Honor.
Any questions from the jury? Seeing that you can step in.
At the Senate, Your Honor. Good morning, sir. Where do you currently work?
I'm a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation at the Detroit field office.
And how long have you been so employed?
A little over 6 years.
And as part of your role as a special agent, are you familiar with something called the evidence response team?
Yes, I'm a member of the Detroit-based evidence response team for the FBI.
Okay. And as part of your role with that team, did you participate in the search of a particular vehicle back on January 19th of 2022?
I did.
And where was the search of that vehicle conducted?
It was in a towing facility in police impound in East Point. I believe it was Woods Towing.
Okay. And when that vehicle was searched, who else was present?
So we had various members of our evidence response team serving different roles on the team for that search, as well as a detective out of East Point PD. I believe it was Detective Brian Showers.
Okay. And what was the sort of basis of authority to search that particular vehicle, if any, that you had?
There was a search warrant issued out of Macomb County a few days prior. I believe it was on the 16th, which authorized the search of that particular car by VIN number, plate, make, and model. And it authorized the FBI to render technical assistance to the state entity that was requested.
Okay. And when you were part of the search of the vehicle, was that before or after the cadaver dog was then present for the search?
So as I was there that day, it was my understanding that a cadaver dog sometime prior to our arrival, mid-afternoon on the 19th, and I'm not sure when, but a cadaver dog had alerted to the trunk area of the car.
Okay. And so the dog was no longer there when you arrived, correct?
That's correct.
And approximately how long were you and your team on scene searching the vehicle?
It was about 2.5 hours that afternoon.
And what sort of evidence were you searching for in the vehicle?
So we were searching for any DNA or trace evidence and any clothing or materials that could contain DNA or trace evidence.
And what sort of methods were used by the team to search the vehicle?
So we initially photographically depict the scene as it is when we arrive. And so exterior photographs would be taken 360 degrees around the car. And then we start to search on the inside of the car, one zone or compartment at a time, photographing things as we see them. And then as things are searched, once the entry photographs are complete, items per zone would be removed from the car and then examined kind of on a clean surface on paper. Once the search was complete of the car, we then used an alternate light source, which is ultraviolet light with particular goggles at a particular frequency range, looking for evidence of blood.
Okay, and was any evidence of blood detected using the alternate light source?
It was not.
And if hypothetically there had been just a microscopic drop of blood somewhere, would that have been something that would have been able to be identified using that light source?
So it depends a lot on the surface that you're examining. Different materials are easier or harder, the different colors, the texture, as well as kind of the other material that might be present. The car was really dirty, so those things add the difficulty of finding it, because the blood will it will become darker and stand out more. But if everything is dark, it's hard to see, particularly a blood spot.
And was the search of the vehicle documented with photos?
It was.
And is it your understanding that a subset of those photos around this disc that I'm holding that's been marked as from Exhibit 25?
Yes.
And to the extent those photos around this disc, do those fairly and accurately depict what you saw when you participated in the search of the vehicle back on January 19th, 2022?
So I did review proposed Exhibit 25, which I believe contains 54 photographs that depict the scene as we searched it that day of that vehicle.
Okay. Your Honor, I move to admit proposed Exhibit 25.
No objection.
And may I publish?
Sure.
I just want to move through these, starting with Exhibit 25, page 1. What does page 1 show us?
So the first several photos would be those exterior entry photos. So it'll be a 360-degree walk around the vehicle to document the condition of the vehicle that we were in. So this would be the front passenger corner of the vehicle.
Okay. And looking at page 2, is that just the front of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And page 3?
So we're making our way around in a counterclockwise motion. So this is the front driver's corner.
And page 4?
The engine compartment.
And page 5?
The rear driver's corner.
And page 6?
That's the license plate of the vehicle.
And just for the record, what was the license plate number?
Echo Golf Hotel, EGH, 6644.
And page 7 and 8, are those just more exterior photos?
It is.
And page 9, what does that show?
It's the VIN number on the front of the dash on the passenger side.
And how about page 10?
So after the exterior entry photos are done, we would take photographs of each of the zones of the car. So this would be that driver's seat with the door open.
And page 11?
This is the driver's door.
And page 12?
Back seat from the driver's side, rear door open.
And page 13?
Back seat from the passenger side, rear door open.
14?
The front passenger seat with the door open.
Page 15?
This is the center armrest in between the two front seats.
And page 16?
The glove box in the passenger seat with it open.
Okay. And so far we've just been looking at the passenger compartment on the inside?
Correct.
And in terms of like inside the passenger compartment, was there anything notable that was observed?
I don't believe we seized any evidence there. I know that we identified various gloves that were in there. There was, if I recall correctly, there was some laundry detergent in the back seat. But all the evidence that was seized that day was seized out of the trunk.
Okay. And in terms of the trunk, what does page 17 show us?
So this would be a view of the trunk after opening the trunk before anything was moved.
Okay, and so this would be the condition the trunk was in when you initially found it, would that be correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And page 18, is that just a close-up?
Correct. Just same orientation, but just closer to get a better view of what's inside of the trunk.
Okay. And page 19?
It's a different angle of a medium shot looking inside of the trunk.
And page 20?
This would have been with that spare tire, which was sitting on top of kind of everything and blocking the view. That was removed, and then this is what would be underneath that spare tire. Everything else still in the trunk.
And at some point, what was done to, I guess, facilitate the search of the items in the trunk? Were any additional steps taken?
So after things were photographed as they were inside of the vehicle, everything would have been removed out, placed onto that paper for examination and determination of evidentiary value. And then we had conducted the ALS, the alternate light source, around the car. And then eventually we ended up removing the liner of the trunk and bagging that as evidence.
Okay. And looking at page 21, is that just another view of the trunk?
Correct.
And 22?
It's looking further back into the trunk toward the back seat to get a view of what was back there in a more close-up shot.
And 23?
More items from the driver's side of the trunk area.
And 24?
24 is the underside of the trunk lid, showing the liner.
Okay. And so when you say the liner, are you referring to like this sort of fabric?
Right, it's kind of like a stiff felt type material that's snapped in to the metal and lines the entirety of the trunk. So it's the gray part in that photo.
And what does 25 show?
So there were car seat covers for like bucket seats, which the vehicle had front bucket seats, and these car seat covers were not on the front seats, but they were inside of the trunk, which was interesting. So we were photographing those car seat covers, just kind of laid out a little bit better.
Okay, and those would have been like under the items that we're seeing here in, let's say, for example, slide 22?
Correct. So as some things were removed because it was in layers, there was a new round of photographs taken to show what was beneath the top layers.
What does 26 show us?
So the contents of the trunk had been removed at this point, and then there was a kind of a plastic molded liner inside of the trunk that held everything in place.
Okay. And how about 27?
This is with that plastic liner removed, and it shows the trunk lining below it.
And what does 28 show us?
So in the next series of photographs, these are items that have been removed from the car and placed onto the paper, and then kind of arranged so that they could be photographed and documented. And so this photograph shows items that were taken out of Zone A, which you can see written on the top of that paper, which I haven't looked recently at the sketch, which would show where it was, but I believe Zone A was the driver's compartment.
Okay. And 29, is this just a continuation of
It
Zone
is
A?
a continuation of Zone A items.
Okay. And in terms of what was located in Zone A, again, you mentioned some gloves. Anything else notable that you observed?
It was paperwork, business cards, some receipts, but nothing that stands out in my memory, nothing that we seized. So we'll photograph things that are there, and the photographs might later be relevant, even if we didn't seize the items. So we try to capture everything that was there.
Okay. And moving to page 30, are we in Zone B now?
This is Zone B items, which would be the front passenger seat.
And 31, is that a continuation of Zone B?
It is a continuation of Zone B, which would also include the glove box. So these items may or may not have taken out of the box.
And how about 32? Which area does this come from?
So this is items taken out of Zone C. Zone C would be the rear driver's seat compartment area, the driver's side rear seat.
And is 33 a continuation of Zone C?
It is.
And how about 34? What's Zone D?
Zone D is the rear seat on the passenger side, and these are items taken out of Zone D.
And is 35 a continuation of Zone D?
It is.
And how about 36? What are we looking at this point?
So this is a photograph of the inside of the trunk after the liner was removed. So you can see the different snap points on where it was fastened. And then in the bottom of the trunk there are some of the fasteners that keep that liner in place.
Okay. And 37, is that just another view of that?
It is, yes, sir.
And 38, it looks like we're in Zone E now. What's Zone E?
Zone E is the trunk area of the car. So this photograph depicts one of those car seat covers that were removed from the trunk.
Okay. And how about 39?
39 is also from the trunk, Zone E, and another photograph of the car seat cover.
And 40, is that more of the same?
It is.
And 41?
41 was a black apron that was taken out of the trunk of the car.
And how about 42?
42 shows a Nike visor, a black Nike visor, black and pink boots, some gloves, a black hat, and a belt that were taken out of the trunk of the car.
And 43?
This is a continuation, kind of sliding to the right of the previous photo. So we see the belt, hat, and the gloves in the center of this photograph for Zone E, and then it shows some additional gloves all the way on the right side of the photograph that were also taken out of the trunk.
And how about page 44?
So this is the trunk liner that was removed out of Zone E of the trunk.
And page 45?
Continuation of the trunk liner.
And 46, is that the upper portion that you talked about earlier?
I don't recall if that's the underside of the lid or if it's the part that comes up to the latch, but it's part of the trunk liner.
Okay. And what does page 47 show?
So page 47 is Zone E, which is the trunk area. It shows a pair of athletic shoes, some brake fluid containers, t-shirt, looks like some sort of an electrical charging device of some sort, and a piece of plastic that could be from the car. I'm not sure.
Okay, and 48?
Is a continuation of that same portion of Zone E. So we see the t-shirt, which was visible in the previous photograph, as well as a black and white jacket.
And 49?
49 or more items taken out of the trunk of the car. So we can see some antifreeze on the left side of the photograph, some underwear, a sock, a couple of bags, jack that was from the car itself, and it looks like some sort of a retrieval device for picking things up.
And what does page 50 show?
So this is continuing to slide right down the roll of paper. We can see items that were visible in the previous photograph, as well as a funnel, a piece of packaging of some sort, as well as a can of, I believe it was brake cleaner, but some sort of a can of automotive lubricant.
And page 51?
Some more items taken out of the trunk of the car, some papers, jumper cables, a glove, I believe it's a sock, and an ice scraper.
And 52 and 53 and 54, these just more sort of miscellaneous items in the trunk.
Yes, sir. More items taken out of the trunk of the car.
Now, as part of your search of the vehicle, did you collect any evidence, any physical items to preserve as evidence?
Yes, we did.
And which items were collected?
We collected the apron, the boots, the black and pink boots, a black Nike visor, the black hat, we collected the liner of the trunk. I might be missing something.
And in terms of collecting those items, what was done with them once they were collected?
So once the determination was made to seize those items of potential evidence, they were packaged on scene, sealed in evidence packaging, and turned over to the detective from East Point.
Okay. And it sounded like you thought you may be missing something in terms of the exhaustive list of what was collected. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can't recall if I got them all.
Did you create something called or someone else in your team create something called a casebook for this particular search?
Yeah, so each search we would include items that were seized, and we would document everything and then write a report. It would include a sketch of the car, the photographs depicting the search from beginning to end, including exit photographs. It would include items that were seized, a receipt for property, so the items that were seized would have a receipt that would be written, and it all kind of gets packaged up together and made into a report.
Okay, and if you looked at that report, would that help refresh your recollections of the exhaustive list of what was collected?
It would.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I'm handing you a copy of the casebook. If you could take a look at that and let me know when and if your recollections have been refreshed. And And having taken a look at the casebook, has your recollection been refreshed as to the items that were collected?
It has.
And was there anything you missed in the previous list that you gave?
There is. So in addition to the things that I mentioned before, the belt that we saw in the photographs was seized, a pair of black gloves, as well as a pair of disposable gloves, and the car seat covers were seized.
Okay. And in terms of, again, the purpose of the search, I think you indicated that you were looking for possible evidence of blood. Would that be correct?
Correct.
Searching this specific vehicle, were there any sort of limitations that you encountered?
So there was a time lapse between when a crime may have occurred and when we did the search.
Again, that was January 19th when you did the search?
January 19th was the search. And then there were a lot of automotive lubricants or bottles of them inside the vehicle. And I distinctly remember pulling things out of the trunk, and there were clothing or other fabric items, and it all was kind of damp, and I'm not sure with what. So it could have been that some of the automotive lubricants were on that, but the materials inside of the trunk appeared wet with some sort of substance.
Okay, and did the number of items in the trunk impact your ability to search?
There were a lot of items. Everything would have been pulled out and evaluated as a potential evidence item, but then ultimately we didn't do any forensic testing of any particular item to determine if there was or was not blood. Items that were determined to be of evidentiary value were packaged and delivered for further processing later.
Okay. And in terms of that further processing, that's not something that you play a role in, correct? Is that?
Not in this case, no.
Okay. And hypothetically, if when you would search this vehicle, there had been a body in the trunk, would that have furthered your ability to investigate this case?
Should you repeat the question, sir?
If hypothetically, when you were searching this vehicle on January 19th, 2022, there had been a body in the trunk of the vehicle, would that have furthered your ability to investigate this case?
So if the body was there when we opened the trunk?
Correct.
We would have to process the body and get the ME involved, the medical examiner. Does that answer your question?
It would have been relevant if there had been a body, though?
Significantly, yes.
Okay. Thanks. Something further.
Thank you. Good morning, Special Agent.
Yes, good morning.
Now, there were a number of other law enforcement officials there when you processed this trunk?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who was in charge, like, as far as deciding what was collected, how it was processed? If you could help us with that.
So I was a searcher that day. The team leader for our team at the time was Special Agent Jason Chambers.
Okay.
As far as what was going to be seized, that would be a consultation between our team leader and the detective, so Detective Showers.
Okay. And did the detective have ultimate authority, or it was more or less a shared endeavor, if you will?
Ultimately, it would be whoever the OIC is, whoever the detective is, that would make a call about what's evidentiary or not.
Okay.
The evidence team would advise about our expertise or what is or isn't possible.
Okay. And would that have been East Point detective or Detroit detective, if you remember?
That was in East Point Police Department. Yes,
okay. Now, you didn't have any evidence that would suggest that this particular car had been cleaned out from the time of the suspected incident to the time that you were searching this car, correct?
Cleaned out? Like
as far as the trunk, it didn't seem like the trunk had been emptied out, correct?
No, sir. It was full of stuff.
Okay. And you didn't have any evidence that would suggest that the truck was shampooed or vacuumed out, correct? Would that be a fair statement?
Correct.
Now, once all the different items were recovered and placed in on the particular paper, were they then, I guess, analyzed with alternative light source and or luminol?
The alternate light source was only done inside of the passenger compartment in the trunk of the car.
In the trunk of the car?
Not the items that were taken out of it.
Okay, so the alternative light source weren't used on like various sides of the clothing or the items that were recovered from the trunk, correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. And that goes the same for the luminol, correct?
We didn't use any luminol that day.
Oh, you know. Was there a particular reason why you didn't use luminol that day?
I wasn't told to.
Okay. And that would have been either Special Agent Chambers and or the East Point detective who would have directed you to use luminol, correct?
Usually it would be a decision from the leadership of the evidence response team to use it.
Okay.
So luminol can help to identify trace amounts of blood by fluorescing with the iron and the hemoglobin.
Okay. Now, you indicated that there are different materials. Some are easier to, I guess, detect blood on.
Correct.
Okay. And just what material, hypothetically, what materials would be, the easiest or easier than to detect certain blood on?
So a lighter colored material would be easier because under alternate light source, blood becomes darker. So it would contrast more as opposed to a darker fabric.
Okay. So when you stated different materials, you were more or less indicating the different colors, more or less the materials such as silk or carpet. Would that be a fair statement?
I was, but the material itself could matter because it has to remain on the material. So
okay.
Absorption would matter.
Okay. Is carpet material, is that from your perspective, is it easier to detect blood from or more difficult to detect blood on?
Then what?
Then I don't know. Just relatively speaking, is it an easy substance or easy material to detect blood from?
So, all things being equal, you can detect blood on carpet.
Okay.
If there's patterns or other stains or a darker color, it could make it harder than a lighter, plain beige carpet, for instance, that's clean, with the exception of the blood.
And you stated that you took, I guess, particular interest in these car seats because they were in the trunk?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether or not these car seats actually were an exact fit for?
I did not try to put them on.
Oh, you put them on. Okay, so you don't know whether or not they fit. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And you indicated that those car seats were eventually tagged for evidence and then processed, correct?
Yes, sir. They were seized as evidence.
Okay. And if you know, when the evidence was processed and seized and processed and sent for analysis, do you know where that was sent for analysis?
I have no knowledge of where the evidence went after we turned it over to East Point.
Okay. So the FBI doesn't take a role as far as analyzing the evidence once it's collected, correct?
We did not in this case, to my knowledge.
And you, just to be clear, you indicated that you didn't find any traces of blood or DNA using the alternative light source from the passenger compartment of the car and the trunk, correct?
We did not identify anything that we believed was blood using alternate light source.
And just to be clear, the decision to not independently analyze every single item once it was taken out of the trunk with the alternative light source, that would have been a decision by the team leader, correct?
Ultimately, yes.
And or the detective, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In situations like that, can a searcher such as yourself suggest and say, hey, it might be a good idea to, have the alternative light source on this particular items once they're taken out, turn the items around, and do the same thing from the other side?
Certainly a searcher could, offer opinions and we would collaborate on things.
Okay. Do you know if that was done in this particular situation?
I am not sure if it was.
Okay. Did you personally do that in this particular situation?
I did not.
Okay. And also, from your perspective, there was no evidence that the passenger compartment of this particular vehicle had been vacuumed or shampooed from the time of the alleged incident, suspected incidents, from the time you processed this car. Would that be a fair statement?
I can't answer that, but I can say that the day that we searched the car, it had not recently been cleaned.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Special Agent. No further questions.
You ready? Any questions from the chair? Seeing none, sir, you can step down. We're now at 11:58. Might be time to break for lunch.